disciplined mind says I'm not hungry.
Hi, it's Lauren. Welcome to another lyric analysis. Today's song is Do You Get Mad? And it is the 4th song in the blue section and the 24th song overall. I've done 24 songs and now I'm actually trying to advertise, so hopefully people will actually start to see this. But yeah, this is something I didn't think was possible because I thought I had to wait for a producer and I was a bad producer, and it's just really cool. I gotta let myself be proud of that. Today's song is called Do You Get Mad? And this song is about willpower. It's this question of what do I need versus what I want. Like growing up in school, it's like you need food, water, and shelter. Everything else is a luxury. But that's not really true because we have emotional needs, and if those aren't met, there are also really bad consequences to that. So let's just get started on the lyrics. First line, I don't need to be happy. If I was strong, I could resist that need. So I guess I saw this need to be happy and content and satisfied as a weakness. That if I was a strong person, I could just push through no matter what. But after a lifetime of that, you miss the point of life. The point of being alive is to reach for goals and to feel those little moments of satisfaction and progress. And if you never, breathe out, you just always breathe in, this anxiety, this tension just makes you crazy. But I remember being in school and I'm like, well, I'll be a doctor and I guess I'll just be unhappy until I become a doctor. So I just resigned to the fact that I would be unhappy for the next decade or so until I got to this goal, and then I was allowed to be happy. So I saw happiness as a luxury, something that you get to have when you have enough money for it. But if there's anything I've noticed, people don't get money and then become happy. The need is still there and they just want more and more and more. So I don't need to be free. A firm grasp keeps you from failing. I was a very hard worker. People would have described me as a kid as someone with a good head on their shoulders, which is really funny because from then I've probably aged backwards in like my life and personality. I studied, I was responsible, I had straight A's, I was a ballet dancer, all of this stuff. Thing is though, what I really needed was just to be free to play as a kid. The last moment I remember like being truly happy in my childhood was in middle school, and we were just playing outside in the grass, just with my friend, no plans, just it was finally some time that someone wasn't telling me what to do. It was always school or ballet, and I hated school, but I kind of had to do that. I also hated ballet because it was so boring. Like, I would have been okay with it if I was doing like other kinds of dance or other things as like a basic foundation, because it is really good for that. But every day, not my favorite, and I don't even have the ballet body type. But I hated every minute of every moment of every day, like for the most part. Because I didn't want to fail at life because I thought failure is what made people unhappy. So I like made myself unhappy because I'll be happy later. And it didn't work out. Just not great. Then it goes to the chorus. I don't need air to breathe, but I keep giving in. What is wrong with me? The easiest example I'll use of that is an eating disorder. And it's this idea of the eating disorder says that you don't need to eat. You're fine. You can keep going. But then eventually you give in and eat. And you keep thinking, what's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? And we thought that the same thing about breathing. About like, I'm trying to hold my breath, but I keep giving in and breathing like, oh, what's wrong with me? It's like, there's nothing wrong with you. You're just trying to survive. And then it says, I don't need to eat or sleep. A disciplined mind says I'm not hungry. So it's this idea that discipline means that I don't honor my emotions because emotions are wrong. And not just emotions, but feelings, sensations, intuition. Ignore it because it's wrong. If you want to be disciplined, you got to push all that aside. And it creates this internal warfare. And it doesn't have great results. So it's like breaking any habit, really. If you don't get to the core, it's like with spending. People are like, okay, got to make a budget and spend less. It works for a while and then they go back because there's an emotional need that the spending or the eating or the not eating was meeting. And you take away the behavior without addressing the need. Of course, you're going to go back to the behavior or back to something else. There's nothing wrong with you. That's cause and effect. That's all it is. It's just the law of cause and effect. Okay. Now this is the after chorus, I call it. People tell me it's not a real thing, but everything's made up, so I'm making it up. This is the after chorus. It says, I shouldn't need these things. Why do I feel guilty for being human, a human being? We have to treat our emotional needs like we do our physical needs. It makes sense. Physically, emotions are chemicals, and if you don't balance these chemicals and regulate and take care of them, they're going to cause physical and emotional harm. It's as simple as that. Why do we feel guilty for, taking care of ourselves? And what happens is when you have this guilt and shame for having normal needs, you feel that way towards everything, and you feel that way towards yourself. Like you don't deserve the things that you need. And then you don't even know what your needs are anymore. This is the bridge. Where the title comes in. It says, do you get mad at the world for spinning round, or when gravity keeps your feet on the ground? Do you get mad when a child doesn't understand, or even your parents? So I start with really concrete physical examples, like the world spinning and gravity. Do you get mad when you encounter gravity? I sometimes do. I skate and try to do stuff to get adrenaline, but you don't get mad, you just deal with the problem accordingly. If something drops, you don't get mad at gravity that it dropped. You just take the cup, which, not sponsored, by the way. By the way, it's okay to have one of these cups. Like, that's not overconsumption. Just don't get a new one every freaking month for a holiday. Like, it's fine to have one that you use every day. My point being, if this is on the edge of the table and it falls, that damn gravity, or I could just move it to where it's not on the edge of the table. So maybe we could deal with other problems like we just dealt with this one here. It's actually a crystal grid, selenite crystal grid, so we're just gonna put this on there. Gotta feel like a Sephora 10-year-old. So I start with these really physical examples, right? And then we go to a child. And we expect children not to know things. So we don't get angry when they don't, but people sometimes do, obviously. So it's that middle ground of, you don't treat it like gravity, like, oh, that's the way it is. But people also tend to have more empathy towards a child that doesn't know something rather than an adult who doesn't know something. But the adult that doesn't know something is just as clueless as the child if they don't know it. And that's where the next line, or even your parents, comes in. Because parents, just because they're adults and they had a child, does not mean that they know everything there is to know about life. And I'll just say personally, I'm really discovering how different my values are. What money means to me versus what it means to my parents, what security means to me. Just, for me, money is a tool to get the things that I want. Just money for money's sake, I don't get the point of it. we live in this neighborhood and there's the garage sale every year, and these are houses that have raised in value probably like almost $1 million or around that area. They're not that big. It's Orange County. Oh, it's crazy town. But everyone's garage is filled to the brim, and it's stuff that I know they haven't touched in years because they're spending all their time working to pay for this stuff that they then don't have time to use, you know? And I'm just like, what is this rat race? Like, people spend all these hours working and working to get money, but then they don't have time to use the money for anything. So I'm like, there's something wrong here. Maybe we need to put our happiness over a random number that's in a bank. Then it goes to the chorus again. I don't need air to breathe, but I keep giving in. What is wrong with me? I don't need to eat or sleep. A disciplined mind says I'm not hungry. One of the things I really try to do in this song is take things that the average person would have zero guilt about. It's safe to say that most people have no guilt around taking a breath or gravity. Then we have the mid-tier, food. That's a trickier one, right? Because of living in such a weight and image conscious culture, like there can be guilt with that. So that's sort of like mid. But there's generally not guilt with just the simple fact that you have to eat to live. Children are also that mid-tier of like, you know, you don't get angry at them when they do something wrong, but also sometimes you do. So, and then the third tier that I think people have the most guilt about are probably emotions. But I'm arguing that we shouldn't have these tiers. We should just, this is a need I have, whether it's emotional or physical, and treat it the same with that same absence of guilt we have around breathing. Why can't we do that with eating? And then why can't we do that with our emotions? I don't know. Because the emotional dysregulation I have experienced has been the worst thing I can imagine. I mean, I'm on so many medications right now. Like, it's insane. If I had respected my emotions and my physiological state throughout my life, I wouldn't now be in this state the last 3 years that I spent in and out of hospitals. I wouldn't be on so much medication and feel so shitty because I ignored my needs for like as much as I could until I broke. And I'm just like, that was not fun. And the suffering was completely unnecessary. Like, why should I get mad at myself? So, last part is, I don't need to punish me for being a human being, for being me, so I can breathe. So that one is about boundaries. For my own sanity, I have to have boundaries with other people, have my own things, my own values, my own way of looking at the world, as opposed to just doing what my parents want for me, which I tried to do, but it really tore me apart to the point of almost total collapse, not having my own values and needs separate and just like meshing with whatever I was told was the right or good thing to do. And sometimes I feel guilty, like if I disagree with my parents about something and I'm like, I have to do this for my own sanity. If I don't feel guilty about breathing or about eating, which I don't most of the time anymore, thank goodness, then I shouldn't feel guilty about that emotional need of like having my own personality. Like that's essential for my own just well-being and sanity. Okay, so let's talk about the eating disorder history with this song, because I feel like in terms of guilt, that's where I've turned this belief around the most. I was a dancer. I went to this 5-week dance camp. I was staying in like college dorms, but it was between 9th and 10th grade. I had an eating disorder. And it was not because I wasn't hungry. I would go to the dining halls and leave hungrier than when I came in. And by the end of it, I was like so weak. I felt like I could barely get across the room. And then I just had to do it again and again and again. There's a lot more details with it, but basically I starved myself. And then my weight fluctuated the other way, like pretty extreme. And I realized that what caused the weight gain in the first place was the starvation. And when I really recovered is when I let go of control and just let my body sort itself out. It became like, oh, it's not because I'm a bad person. It's because that's what happens when you starve yourself. Your body goes the other extreme. It's just like a pendulum. So if I don't want to swing on the pendulum, which is not fun, then don't swing the pendulum. And swinging the pendulum is controlling, either by binging or by restricting. And now the pendulum doesn't really swing as much, but it's a really scary thing because you feel like a bad person, like for not taking control of something you don't like, but then you realize like taking that control is what caused the problem in the first place. If you're hungry, eat something. Don't feel guilty about it. If you feel something, feel it. Don't feel guilty about it. And if you want to do something with your life, do it. Because if you don't, there will be consequences. I have to do things like make these videos and write these songs and skate and all this stuff because I have to have my own identity and my own values, or else I will go completely insane. Thanks so much for watching. Talk to you later. Bye.
For being me, so I can breathe.